Hold on. Her sister was a witch, right? And what was her sister? A princess. The Wicked Witch of the East, bro. You're gonna look at me and you're gonna tell me that I'm wrong? Am I wrong? She wore a crown and she came down in a bubble, Doug. Grow up, bro. Grow up. And welcome back to episode 24 of Crips and Corks. I'm your host, DJ, here with my co-host and executive producer,
Paul, as usual.
But you weren't ready for that.
That was quite the intro.
I even practiced in front of you before we turned the microphones on.
You did it so intensely that time, and my audio levels, I could see the audio levels, and it's just like off the charts. Like,
I can be very loud.
Apparently.
It's the Italian in me.
Oh, lots of screaming. Oh, wait, is that racist?
No, you're Italian too.
I am Italian too. Yeah, my grandmother came over. Well, not my grandmother, my great-grandmother came over from Italy. Yeah, never met her. She died.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's fine, I never met her.
Did it happen this week, or was your week better than that?
I think it happened before I was born.
Okay.
Miss Lasanti herself, shout out. She probably cries every time she sees me make spaghetti because I do it so awful. She's rolling in her grave.
You don't do it awful. You've made me spaghetti. And it's not awful. You just make it with jarred sauce.
Right.
Which happens.
She was rolling in her grave when I didn't like that gnocchi I tried that one time. Is that how you even say that? It's like gnocchi? Or nochi? Yoki. Like the bear. Yogi bear.
Okay, wait. You all, I just have to describe this. So, like, Pittsburgh is wonderful. It has a lot of great restaurants. We went to, what was it called? Osteria something. And, like, the address, it's in the Strip District. And they're known for their, like, super fluffy gnocchi. And so, like, we go there and we each... It was us and our friend in, and we each ordered it, and it comes in, like, this wonderful homemade bolognese, and you can get a meatball on the side, and the meatball is, like, huge, and Paul gets it, and he's eating it, and, like, his face is just, like, full of sadness and disappointment, and we go, Paul, what's wrong? And he goes, I thought there would be something in here. It's empty.
Right? I thought they would put, like, meat or cheese or something.
No, that's not what gnocchi is.
Well, I didn't know that.
You're thinking ravioli.
Yeah, well, I thought it was, like, the same thing. I thought everything in Italy was just, like, stuffed. And I know there's a few Italian things I would like to stuff.
Oh, I was about to make that joke.
Beat you to it. Gotta be quicker than that.
Oh, my gosh. How was your week? Tell me about your week.
My week was good. I'm being haunted by another demon, though.
Oh, no. Is it really a demon, or is it a new hot guy of the month since it's now March?
Well, we already
discussed
Tara.
I mean, it literally is March.
Yes.
Now, when we're recording this.
This demon, it's a DC demon. A Diet Coke demon.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Help me.
I am so obsessed with Diet Coke. It is so good. Have you ever had Diet Coke on ice? There's nothing like it.
What do you mean, have I ever had Diet Coke on ice?
It's so good, DJ. You have to get yourself a Diet Coke on ice.
But
you gotta put some ice cubes in a glass and pour some Diet Coke over it and get yourself a Diet Coke on the rocks.
Is that...
A virgin Diet Coke on the rocks.
You mean a Virgin Swiftie on the rocks?
Yeah, Virgin Swiftie, because Swiftie is Diet Coke and vodka. One of my favorite beverages. Hey, we're not ready for the wine yet, girl.
I know, I was just making sure it was in there. Can you... Is that the end of your week? Can you do...
Yeah.
Okay, thank God. Please give me your Terra Yummy fact, because I'm still processing the Diet Coke demon over here.
Well, that's actually the perfect transition, because... Our good old hot girl of the month, hot guy of the month, Tara Yummy loves Diet Coke also. And you know what else
wait. I'm so sorry to interrupt. All I can think of is when her and Jake and Johnny were on the Queen Mary and she's drinking the Diet Coke.
Exactly.
And then, like, she's, like, you could just, like, see she's chugging it. And they're on the deck and she goes, I don't feel so good. And then, like, Johnny's like, or Jake was like, are you okay? And she looked right in Jake's face and she burped.
You know, I said this to you earlier in the week. There's nothing like chugging a Diet Coke on an empty stomach. It feels so crazy.
Yeah,
Like,
your body's like trying not to self-destruct.
Right. For all you people at home, when you first wake up in the morning, don't eat anything, chug a Diet Coke. It's the craziest feeling.
Yes, because you know that part in Titanic where all the lifeboats are gone and everyone's running around screaming?
Yeah.
When you chug a Diet Coke, that's what your stomach's doing. Like,
No.
everyone is, like, preparing to jump and drown. And your body's like, calm down.
That's very true. That's very true. They're like not chemicals, nutrients.
Don't you, like, then get, like, the sweats, like, oh my god, oh my god.
No, I don't get the sweats. I feel like I'm going to explode a little bit, but that's part of the fun. But back to Tara. You know, she loves Diet Coke. And along those lines, something else she loves is Jake Weber. The two had a very public relationship on YouTube. They dated for a long time, like 4 years. And now people won't leave her alone about it. And like, I feel her struggle because she is trying to make her own brand and things and not be defined by this past relationship she has, which I think happens to a lot of women. Now, I will say Jake's platform is bigger, but I think Tara really is funny and she can do well on her own and have just as big of a platform. And I think we should stop telling her and Jake that they need to get back together and just let them live their lives and let Tara be her own person and her own brand, because she is a very strong brand and I very much enjoy like her and her videos and her attitude. She's just like a girl boss, and I think the world needs to embrace Tara Yummy apart from her and Jake. And that is my Tara Yummy spiel for the day.
Tara, we're rooting for you. Paul, do you want to hear about how my week was?
Yeah, how was your week, DJ?
I fucking hate Sam's Club. It is Tara Yummy month, and me and Paul are going to film some Tara Yummy inspired TikToks.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to Sam's Club to see if they had Juicy Couture velour tracksuits, like I saw there once months ago.
Mm-hmm.
They did not. But first of all, I get there, and it's a Saturday, and it is packed to the gills. And
Packed to the what?
Gills.
What's it? I've never heard that in my life.
You've never heard packed to the gills?
No. Sorry for interrupting, but that's wild.
I don't even, like, it's like stuffed. Like, it's just stuffed.
Like fish gills?
Like me after a night at Club Pittsburgh.
Oh my gosh. Here we
go. So I am gay walking through the parking lot because, like, I parked as far away as possible just so, like, nobody will come near me.
Mm-hmm.
Because those bitches are crazy.
Yeah.
And, like, they're like, ah! Like, they're crazy with their carts, and like, pulling out. Like, they'll see you're trying to pull out, and they'll, like, floor it.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll honk at you. But anyway, so I park as far away as possible, and I'm gay walking through the parking lot. And I was gay walking so fast that a car was pulling out, and I gay walked right into the side of it.
Into the car?
I hit a car. It was just like, I was like going too fast to stop, and I just went boom. And like, it was this poor lady. She's like, oh my God, are you okay? I hit you. And I was like, no, I'm fine. I definitely hit you. She's like, are you okay, really? I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I was just like walking too fast and not paying attention.
Jesus.
But anyways, I get in there and like, you might as well call Sam's Club Jurassic Park for the number of fossils walking around there. It is an amusement park for old people, and they do not care. They will hit you with their carts. They will shove you out of their way. I was looking at this one display of clothing, not a soul around. Paul, you can attest this because I FaceTimed you.
Mm-hmm.
I start looking for sizes. These old ladies swarmed like vultures. One of them pushed me out of the way.
Right? They were probably like, let me get this F word out of here.
And I was just like, yeah, I know it's $50, but it's Sam's Club branded sweats.
Right, girl. It's not that serious.
Go, like, look, there's literally, like, Gap sweaters for $12. There's Skechers for $20.
Not the Skechers. Skechers are cringe.
Not gonna lie, my running shoes are Skechers just because they're cheap and I like that they slip on.
Okay, that's excusable. Running shoes are excusable.
I don't like wear them for fashion.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I don't wear the Skechers fashion ones.
You're not in the club with your light ups?
There are some days where I would kill for a pair of light up sneakers.
Why? Why would you ever need that?
Because I want to relive my lost childhood that I lost to the trauma of my existence. Anyways, you want a drink?
Sure. Perfect transition. What are we drinking today, DJ? What's going on?
We are drinking a 19 Crimes Hard Shard. It's bold.
Ooh.
The 19 we've had this before. So I'm not going to read the whole thing about 19 crimes and like Australia being a penal colony. I'm just going to read about the woman on the front. It is...
I don't even think there's anything about the woman on the front. I think it's just...
Yes, it is. Jane Castings was convicted of receiving stolen goods after training and paying teenage boys to steal cheese and bacon for her family in England. She was transported to Tasmania aboard the Sea Queen.
Ooh, okay.
That was a really good pop.
That was a good pop. Let's get in this Chardonnay. I love a good Chardonnay.
Me too. I hope it's better than the last Chardonnay we had on.
Oh, yeah, that was Alf. Ooh, she smells good.
She's bold. One of these days I will learn how not to drip down the side of the bottle.
It's fine.
She bold.
She's very bold. She's fine.
She is supposed to have, it's supposed to be full and round with a rich fruity finish, notes of vanilla and spice. I am getting the spice.
How many grapes are you giving her?
2.5.
I agree. 2.5. Not my favorite. Sorry, 19 Crimes. I think we like the last one more.
You can't win every time.
Right. We like the last one more. I forget. Yeah.
All right, Paul. Now
Wait, real quick before we move on. Look at the alcohol percentage on that bitch real quick. Because
I don't want to. I can taste it.
she'll get you there, honey.
It's a hard 16%.
Right. 16% for a wine, girl?
Well, it says hard shard.
Oh, it's hard. And you know what? After drinking too much of that,
Excuse me, jeez, that really snuck up on me.
After drinking too much of that, you might not get too hard later.
Ooh.
Get that whiskey dick after that 16%.
All right, Paul. Let me tell you a story. It's a sweltering day. Too hot for man or beast outside. You wipe the sweat off your forehead as you peer at the neighbor's house. Something isn't right. While they have the maid running to and fro in a tizzy, you step outside and cross to their side door where the family daughter is standing looking distracted. Is everything all right? You ask. She turns to look at you and opens the door. Come in. Someone has killed father, she remarks emotionlessly. Why, Lizzie Borden, don't say such things, you cry as you enter the house, only then to notice the blood on the walls of the sitting room behind her. Welcome to Lizzie Borden, Part 1, The Murders and the Trial of the Century.
Okay, first of all, Lizzie Borden, iconic, one of the most iconic ghost stories and murder stories of our generation. Also,
of our generation, Paul. This was 120 years ago.
Sorry, I should say of a generation. And piggybacking on that, number 2, I need to know what you Googled on YouTube to find that music. What did you put in that search bar to find that music?
That was the opening intro of the 1975 movie, The Legend of Lizzie Borden.
Oh, see, that's fitting.
It's creepy. It's creepy, but it's very timely.
I appreciate that. That's fitting. I thought you just Googled, like, old-timey music.
I did. I was like, I'm going to look up creepy ragtime, because ragtime was music that would have been played around that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I did find a recording of an old 1920s Halloween vinyl.
Oh.
It was not that scary.
Well, yeah. I mean, what was scary back then is a lot more scary than what is today. Horror has evolved so much.
Yeah, and like Halloween parties back then were very different, so that's what it was for.
Back to Miss Borden, who had an axe Gave her father 40 whacks.
So, Paul, that is Miss Lizzie Borden.
Icon, queen.
She's going to face you for
legend.
the rest of the...
Oh, she's going to stare at me?
She's going to stare at you because she literally just spent the last 15 minutes as we set up and talked staring at me.
Oh my gosh.
So, this one, we are not going to discuss any ghosts because the case of the Fall River murders is technically unsolved. So so this is an unexplained cold case. So Lizzie Andrew Borden was born on July 19th, 1860 in Fall River, Massachusetts, to Andrew Jackson Borden and his wife, Sarah Anthony Morse Borden. Mr. Borden was the 8th-generation descendant of a wealthy and influential Borden family from Fall River, Massachusetts. They were one of the founding families of the city. Despite that, he grew up in poverty. He was the child of one of the branches that had lost a lot of the fortune just
Oh, okay.
because at this time, like, you had so many kids that it kind of just like spread out and out and out.
Mm-hmm.
And also you have some people who like make some not so great business choices. So his father was actually, I believe, a fish merchant.
Okay.
However, Andrew decided that he was going to be a go-getter and go into business, and he became rather prosperous as a manufacturer of furniture and coffins.
Oh, foreshadowing.
So one of the things, and this will come up later, he made a lot of money through some pretty innovative means. One thing that he would do that people said he did with the coffins is that he would build them smaller, and he would cut off your feet and kind of smush your arms, and then sell you it at a full coffin price.
That's crazy. That's what people be doing with chip bags today.
Yes, exactly that. They're giving you less but still charging you the same amount.
Exactly.
From there, he became a really good property developer, as well as the director of several textile mills, as well as the president of the Union Savings Bank and director of the Durfee Savings and Trust Company, which were two of the largest banks in the city. The city was a thriving textile mill town. They made cloth.
Mm-hmm.
That was like a big thing in the Boston area. This is only 40 minutes outside of Boston, is that you had a lot of textile workers.
Okay.
This is like right before, this is the start of the Industrial Revolution. This is right before the Civil War, when all the cotton picked by those poor slaves is getting sent up here and it's being turned into clothes.
Okay.
Despite his as of 1892, he was worth $300,000, which is $10.1 million as of last year, 2023.
Wouldn't that be nice? Have so much money. Oh my gosh.
Despite this, Borden was a very tight-fisted man. For example, being the director of the mills and the landlord of the homes of many of the mill workers, he would know when they got their pay increased and would increase the rent to go along with it.
That's crazy. But also, that's what they be doing today too. These greedy landlords be raising it every year knowing we get raises too.
Yes, but here's the thing. He would say, Paul, you got $1 raise. You can pay an extra $1 on your rent, which $1 back then was like...
money, yeah.
That was like $100, $200 today.
Right.
And I already told you the story about the caskets. As the president of the bank, there were cases of like people having mortgages and turning properties into really prosperous rentals. And he would basically say like, oh, we're raising the price on your mortgage. And it's like, I can't afford that. Oh, then great, because I already bought the mortgage off you.
Oh my gosh.
Like he was not, when I said innovative and scratched my nose, it's like,
he was a shark.
he was shady.
Yes, he was after the coins at what, no matter the cost.
He hang on, and I'm gonna go.
He's a shark in the water, a businessman. He would probably be on that TV show, Shark. What is that? Is that called Sharks?
Yes, no, he would not have. Andrew and Sarah had 3 children together. Emma, born in 1851, Alice, born in 1856, and Lizzie, born in 1860. However, Alice died in 1856. This was very common to have children die back then, sadly.
Right.
Sarah would die in 1863 when Lizzie was 3. On her deathbed, she asked 13-year-old Emma to look after baby Lizzie. So Emma then took on the role of mother, friend, and companion to Lizzie henceforward.
Oh.
In 1865, Andrew remarried to Abby Durfee Gray. And so here's a picture of Abby, and Andrew.
She looks frumpy.
Abby was 37 years old and the unmarried daughter of a pushcart peddler.
What?
She flaunted her middle name of Durfee, which was one of the names of the first families of the city.
Mm-hmm.
She was described as plain and sturdy.
Like I said, frumpy. I called it.
Her marriage to Andrew, a much wealthier and well-respected man, was a surprise to many. Many posited that Andrew chose her to basically be a housekeeper for him and carer to his daughters. In exchange, Abby would get wealth and status.
He said, "You got a good frame on you, girl. Looks like you could carry some buckets of water."
You'll kind of hear what sturdy meant. So sturdy was a polite Victorian way to say fat. She was not very tall and she was over 200 pounds.
Oh, wow, okay.
So that's what sturdy meant, was that she was
built.
She was built.
Like a linebacker.
We're not, not to shame her, but, that's what it meant, was that she was not built like Aphrodite.
Right, we don't body shame on the pod. All bodies are beautiful.
In 1872... Andrew moved his family into a house at 92 2nd Street in Fall River. The house was formerly a duplex, and Andrew had it converted into a single-family home. He did this for as cheaply as possible, resulting in an odd layout as the home had no hallways and rooms could only be accessed through interlocking doorways. So let me show you.
That's so weird.
So this is a diagram of the second floor of the house. So you have the stairs, and you have a landing. And you have a bedroom, and you have a bedroom. And then originally to get to all the other bedrooms, you had to go through this bedroom, which was Lizzie's, until Andrew had a second staircase put in the back of the house.
Okay. So to get to the other bedrooms, they all had to walk through Lizzie's bedroom.
Yes, until they eventually had the second one in, and then Abby and Andrew had their own private entrance. Okay. But Emma, the older sister, to get to her room, she had to go through Lizzie's room. Although Lizzie would sleep in Lizzie's room, Emma would sleep in her room, but they would use Lizzie's room as a common sitting area.
It's giving the Winchester Mansion with all the how it's built with all the doors and all the, you can go.
And this is a picture of the house in the 1800s, around 1892. And this is a diagram of what the area looked like. So, not only that, he also refused to add indoor plumbing. The house did not have gas or electric lighting, which gas electricity was all the rage in 1872. And as of 1892, it was going out for electricity.
Oh, okay.
So the fact that they just had oil lamps.
They were behind the times.
Oh, they were big behind the times.
And they had money to do it too, girl. He was just cheap.
And these were things that... So this was a very middle-class neighborhood. The Borden's middle-class neighbors all had this stuff. They had telephones, they had electricity, they had indoor plumbing. Borden could have afforded a much nicer house in the wealthy neighborhood known as The Hill, but chose this one probably because it was a short walk to his businesses 1 block away.
Okay, that makes sense. I'd like to live close to work too.
Yeah, you
just walk to work, get up in the gig. I get it.
So Emma and Lizzie carried out their lives as many well-to-do Victorian ladies did. Both were very religious, and they were actively involved in their parish at the Central Congregational Church. Lizzie actually taught Sunday school there. She had a huge love of kids, and she really loved teaching at Sunday school. She was also involved in the Christian Endeavor Society, the Women's Temperance League, and the Ladies' Fruit and Flower Mission, and she held leadership positions on all of them, being either the secretary or the treasurer.
Okay. Now, how old was she at that point? 18, 19?
So this is between the ages of 18 and 30.
Okay, period.
In 1890, when she was 30, Lizzie and a group of other Fall River ladies did go on a grand tour of Europe.
Nice. She saw the world.
Yeah.
Good for her.
Emma did not go. Emma was super shy. Both were fairly demure to themselves women, but Emma was like very, very shy. She did not like publicity. She did not like going out to social occasions.
Emma would have loved Tumblr.
Emma would have been a Tumblr girl, and basically, that is Emma.
Okay, she's pretty. She's cool.
Neither Lizzie nor Emma ever got married. Probably because they were in a very strange position in a time when a person's social status affected who they married. Despite the fact that they were the daughters of this hugely wealthy Mr. Borden, they lived in a respectable middle-class neighborhood where young men of their own station would not go to court them.
That's so weird.
And Mr. Borden would not let them go to a lot of the parties that they were afforded to. He did not like high society. He thought it was all a bunch of bullpucky.
Hey, I get it. Rich people are boring.
And also, since they did not have this easy in with the wealthy men of the town, they're not meeting them at parties. So what would happen is the young men would go to college and they would end up marrying the sisters of their college friends.
Okay, that makes sense.
I mean, they probably could have, but they weren't meeting them.
Exactly. I mean, how do you meet them if you're just staying in the house and going to church? I mean, they probably could have met someone at church, but like...
Well, they also could not marry beneath them.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
For not only would it be against their very nature, there were reports that both girls were very prideful of their Borden name, of their father's wealth. Mm-hmm. They held themselves in high esteem. But also, even if they did fall in love with, like, a bank clerk who made a respectable living, Andrew would never have allowed the marriage.
Aww.
Thus, as was customary in Victorian times, both Emma and Lizzie remained living with their father and their stepmother. As they lived under their father's roof and abided by his rules, it meant they had a far less grand life than they were entitled to. Mm. Andrew gave them both a really meager allowance, so meager in fact that both had to save for long periods of time to buy just cheap cloth to sew their own dresses or to have them made by a local seamstress. There were even rumors of Lizzie pickpocketing small items from the stores and her father settling the accounts in exchange for no charges to be brought and for the story to remain quiet.
Dang, Lizzie.
However, despite his thrifty ways and some arguments over money, both Emmy, sorry, I think that's what Lizzie called her.
Oh,
Emma and Lizzie adored their father. Lizzie and Andrew actually had an especially close relationship. They would often go together fishing on family trips. The Bordens had a farm in Swansea where they would vacation.
Oh, okay, nice.
That's another Massachusetts town. Lizzie also gave Andrew her high school graduation ring, and he wore it on his pinky finger, and it was the only piece of jewelry he ever wore other than his watch.
These girls are really close to their dad.
Well, I mean, their mother died when they were 3 and 13.
That's really sad. I'm sorry.
And so, like, he's all they have.
Yeah, that's really sad. That makes sense why they would be closer and everything.
And there is... So, in 1913, 10 years after the main part of the story, an interview showed up in the Boston Globe, purportedly by Emma.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that Emma said was, you know, from the trial, everyone remembers my father as this miserly, tight-fisted man. He was not. He was a loving, kind, generous man, and both Lizzie and I adored him.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah, and even if he was, like, a bad man, they probably, like, they're, like, all, he is all they have, so they were probably just, like, kind of, it's giving a little bit of Stockholm Syndrome-esque.
Maybe.
Not quite that, but, like, he's all they have, like, they love him so much, they would do anything, blah, blah, blah.
Tensions really began to grow within the Borden house as his grown daughters remained under his control and under that of his wife. Both Emma and Lizzie referred to Abby as mother for a long time to please Andrew. However, both regarded her as a gold digger who only married their father for money. They also openly accused Abby of encouraging Andrew in his thriftiness in order to have more money for herself upon his death.
Oh my gosh.
Things really boiled over when Andrew bought and gifted a house to Abby's sister. So,
yo, I would be so mad if I was Lizzie.
Yes.
You're gonna buy her a house but not me? This fake bitch?
like, could you imagine, like, you are scrimping and saving because you get, like, pennies a week.
Right.
To buy a couple yards of, like, cheap-ass calico.
Mm-hmm.
To make a dress. And you bought your wife's sister a whole house.
Like, that's crazy. I would throw hands with my dad if my dad did that.
Which
like, you're gonna buy this person a house, but not me?
My mother left my stepfather over the same thing that happened.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, it got to the point where, like, he was, like, doling out... Well, not quite. Well, I guess... Never mind. He was, like, doling out, like, thousands of dollars for things for his kids. But, like, for me and my brother and my mom, he was like, you can do without.
Well, he's probably just biased because they're his kids, you know?
Yeah. And, yeah, we're not going to get into it. At a second, I was like, yeah, you know, the same thing happened, but then I was like, well, wait, I'm the stepkid.
And you didn't get anything.
Yeah, and I didn't get it. So it was like a reversal. Never mind.
Yeah.
Emma and Lizzie were both super outraged. And face it, they are forced to scrimp and save, and they're living beneath the standards of their poorer neighbors right next door.
Right.
And so there was this huge, bitter fight where they demanded that they wanted ownership of the house that they had lived in with their mother.
Yeah, they should.
Because, like, Andrew, like, as soon as his wife died, moved his girls out of there and moved in with, I think, his sister and his family, and her family. But he kept the house and he rented it out.
Right. Kick out the renters and give it back to your daughters.
So finally, Andrew acquiesced, sold it to them for $1 each. Later, in the summer of 1892, they sold it back to him for $5,000 each.
Wait, why would they sell it? They made such a big deal.
So they did not move out.
Mm-hmm.
It was a rental property.
Okay, so it's more of like a symbol, maybe.
So some people who are very Lizzie Borden did it said she did it for the profit.
Mm-hmm. Honestly, low-key, it is pretty iconic. She bought it for $1 and made her dad buy it back for $5,000.
But you also have to remember that the fact that they owned it meant that they were now trying to collect rent, and this was something that they never did.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure their father was like, well, you can't use my lawyers or my land managers to do it.
That's true.
So they probably, like, made a deal and said, like, okay, like, we'll sell you, like, if we sell it back to you for profit.
There's so much, like, buying and trading amongst this family. Like, girl, in my family, it's like if someone owns it, we all own it. Best believe, my mom owns a house, my dad owns a house. Girl.
Well, here's the thing. It's Andrew's money.
Right.
And he can dole it out as he pleases.
Right. I guess what matters is whose name the house is in. Whereas for, like, I guess what I meant from my family is, like, it's your home. It's everyone's home.
Yeah.
Where they were just arguing about whose name was on the title.
It wasn't so much that it's, like, it's resources. Because here's the problem. I don't think they ever found a will for Andrew.
That's crazy.
That's one thing that I forgot to look into. I just got so into, like, the court case. But basically, he was definitely trying to get his affairs in order. But, like, the problem was that if he died, his estate would go entirely to Abby.
Mm-hmm. And that's not good.
Yeah, and I know in English common law, and I don't know how that reflects with American common law, is that if you die without a will, all your property goes to your spouse. And if you have no children, then it reverts to your next of kin upon the spouse's death.
Right.
So if you and I got married, and we didn't have a will, and I had $1 million, and I died, you would get my $1 million, but we have no kids. And when you died, it would go to my brother.
Right.
Because it was my original $1 million. So I think it was a case like that. But who knows if Abby left a will, because I think with American common law, it's different where, like, the wife gets it outright.
Mm-hmm.
Where Abby could have left it to whoever she wanted.
Right. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter.
So it was more like, you need to, like, you have to give us something, like, or your daughters are going to be destitute.
That's very true. And it's crazy, like, a rich man like that didn't have a will. Like, you have all this money, you gotta,
Don't quote me on that. Don't quote me on that.
Okay. Taking it back. Never mind. Rewind.
But no, it's like it's a lot of like pent up frustrations from like decades of like just being okay. Andrew did not have a will.
Period. It's confirmed. It's weird he didn't have a will. My point remains.
He was like he was 60. He was trying to get his affairs in order to make one. Mm-hmm. But it was not at the front of his mind. So yes, they got the house. They sold it back for cash. Made like a huge profit. What is that, a 5,000% profit?
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
No, that's like a 5 million profit, isn't it?
I don't know.
I
didn't go to school for math.
However, this did not improve things between the four. Emma and Lizzie refused to call Abby mother any longer and instead called her Mrs. Borden. They also, yeah, like, it'd be like, hello, father, Mrs. Borden.
Okay, that's iconic. I'm here for that.
The girls would stop taking meals with their father and stepmother and ate separately on their own.
Oh, the resentment is real.
Like, the girls would go out of their way to avoid their parents.
Right.
Like, they wanted to have as little to do with them as possible.
Mm.
In spring of 1892, Lizzie built a brand new roost for some pigeons that loiter around the yard in the loft of the family's barn. In May of that year, Andrew brutally killed all of them by cutting off their heads with an axe, saying that local boys were breaking in to hunt them.
What? Okay, that's psycho behavior. That's mental illness, babes.
These kids, get off my lawn! That's all I could imagine.
Well, wait, did the boys actually, like, break in to try and kill
He said they were, like, that local boys were breaking into the barn to hunt them.
Mm-hmm.
And he said he didn't want that.
Okay, so you have to slaughter all these pigeons? I feel like there's probably somewhere else they could have sent the pigeons without slaughtering them.
I mean, you literally could have just, like, opened a window, shooed them out, and broken the coop and said, Lizzie, you can't keep any more pigeons.
Right, exactly.
And this was devastating to Lizzie because Lizzie was a huge animal lover. And, like, they weren't her pets, but, like, she took care of them. She built them this roost. She would feed them.
Right, that's crazy for someone to... Crazy.
And there are some sources that said that Andrew then had the family maid Bridget cook the pigeons into a pie.
No, they didn't.
Pigeon was a normal food like back then, but could you imagine like killing your daughter's quote unquote pets,
and
claiming they're yours, and then being like, here, your pets, like here's Fifi.
That's psycho behavior. He's a psycho. That's crazy.
In June of 1892, Andrew and Abby left town for a few days to go to the farm in Swansea and returned to find the house burglarized.
Oh, so someone had broken into the home?
Someone had broken into the home in broad daylight. Bridget, Emma, and Lizzie were all, like, in Fall River around the house at that time.
Okay. And they didn't see anything.
Gone, and so what was gone was $100 in cash. That's $2,000 today.
Okay.
Some of Abby's jewelry. Oh, I wrote it down somewhere else, and I didn't put it in here. It was like $80 in cash, another $30 in gold, some trolley tickets, Abby's watch, her watch chain, and some other jewelry like rings, bracelets, necklaces, and a red leather case that she kept them in.
This is sounding suspicious, girl. Ain't nothing stolen from the sisters.
Yes, so Lizzie was immediately suspected, but never outright accused. And this is when we're going to go back to this diagram. You can see all the locked doors. Mm-hmm. So every red X is a locked door. Mm-hmm. So Andrew ordered that all the inside doors of the house be locked and all the outside doors be locked. And this is, bitch, it was the 70s and people were still leaving their doors unlocked.
Right.
So that was a good 80 years before people started locking their doors, and he was locking his. And it said that he openly placed the key to his own bedroom on the sitting room mantle and said that he would know if anyone had been in there.
Okay. It's interesting they stole the trolley tickets. Maybe like they were going to try and make a getaway after something big happened.
Trolleys are like buses.
Oh. Well, maybe they were trying to make a getaway across the town, DJ!
In July 1892, another family fight erupted and both Lizzie and Emma left Fall River for an extended vacation in New Bedford.
Okay, so they're away.
They just said, fuck it, we're out.
Mm-hmm.
However, a couple weeks later, Lizzie did return, but chose to stay in a boarding house in town for several days rather than return home.
Hey.
So could you imagine, like, being so pissed that you just, like, were like, fuck it, I'll pay for a hotel?
I can imagine that, yes.
Have you done that?
No, I haven't done it, but if someone made me mad enough, I would.
In the early days of August, all of the Bordens in the house began to experience violent stomach ailments.
Sorry, go ahead.
It was so bad that on the morning of August 3rd, Abby went to the family's doctor and claimed that they were being poisoned by Andrew's enemies. She actually brought the doctor in the house, and Andrew and Lizzie were so pissed off. Both of them were both pissed off at Abby that Lizzie ran upstairs, and Andrew said, I'm as healthy as a horse, now get out my house.
Period.
I'm healthy as a horse, get out my house.
I don't know why that made them mad, though. Like, she's just, like, worried. She's worried they're being poisoned. Like...
he also said, even if I am being poisoned, my money won't pay for this. Like,
what do you mean?
For the doctor's visit.
He's rich. What do you mean?
He was like, I am not paying this doctor. I am fine.
Could you imagine being so tight you're not going to pay for a doctor's visit?
I can make the buffalo on the back of a nickel poop.
What?
Like, squeeze the nickel so hard. Like, you're holding the nickel so hard you can make the buffalo poop.
That's like another way of... Was that in like an old movie or something? Like,
it was in the Golden Girls.
Okay.
Rose described her husband as being so cheap that he could squeeze the nickel so hard the buffalo would poop.
Okay, that's interesting. Never heard that before.
It's one of those really great old-timey sayings with my old coot voice that I've assigned to Andrew Borden.
Iconic.
I am sure he did not talk like a prospector out Wild West, but like when you...
It's funny to think he did, though.
When you see the Victorian facial, you just... Get off my lawn!
He does. It does give that. It gives that vibe.
Get off my lawn! You ain't killed my pigeons!
Honestly, he was probably so insufferable to be around. He was probably awful.
Yeah, he would wear a black wool overcoat, like a pea coat, every day, no matter the weather.
Okay. Imagine being that committed to the fashion.
It wasn't even fashionable. It was just he wore it every day. So people would like see this wool coat walking down the street in the middle of July and be like, there's old man Borden. He was not liked. I'm telling you, he was not liked. So I'm sure like when people saw him, there were whispers and they kind of looked away.
He's got the commitment of a goth kid in middle school.
However, more likely is the fact that Andrew bought mutton that was already past its best by date.
See, that could happen, or it could be a stomach bug.
And insisted on the family eating the stew made of it for 5 days despite the extreme heat of the summer and the fact that it wasn't properly refrigerated.
Yo, that's crazy. That's a whole nother level of cheap. He has to have some sort of, like, illness or something. He's crazy.
Also on August 3rd, John V. Morse, who is the brother of Sarah Borden and aunt to both uncle to Lizzie and Emma, arrived at the Borden home to discuss business matters with Andrew. This is a picture of Andrew Borden. Sam Colby said that he kind of looks like Will Ferrell and Abraham Lincoln had a love child.
He kind of does, honestly.
I was like, what? And then they showed two pictures, like Abe Lincoln and Will Ferrell, and then him and I went, oh, yeah.
That makes sense.
And Andrew invited him to stay the night. During the day, Lizzie allegedly went to a local drugstore to buy prussic acid, better known as hydrogen cyanide nowadays. When the pharmacist said, why do you need that? And she said that she wanted to clean her fur coats.
Okay.
What he actually said was, despite how it's been spun other ways was he said, I can't sell it to a lady. Bring your father back with you.
Oh, yeah, that misogyny. That'll get you. Put a hole in the plans.
Later that night, Lizzie visited Alice Russell, her best friend, and recounted the family's illness, the recent burglary, the family noticing strangers lurking near the house, and stated, I feel as if I want to sleep with my eyes half open, with one eye open half the time, for fear that they will burn the house down over us. Like, this is a very tense time in the house. Like,
yeah, like, so much is going on. There's so much anger.
There's anger, and, like, the whole incident with the Mrs. Borden's sister getting a house, that happened, like, a couple years before, in, like, 1887.
Okay.
And that, like, left lingering tension. But, like, the burglary, the pigeons, there had been a spate of burglaries in their neighborhood, so, like, a lot of people are like, it just happened in their house. No, there were burglaries going around the neighborhood. That could have been what had driven Andrew with the pigeons.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, yeah, and people were noticing strange people around the Borden house.
Right.
Like, there were multiple testimonies of people seeing a strange man just lurking.
Mm-hmm.
The next morning dawned unseasonably hot as temperatures grew to nearly 100 degrees before noon.
Jesus, that's
It's hot!
Right, they're hot.
Now, remember, think of that mutton stew.
Oh, no.
Meat that's already, like, not quite good.
Right.
That's a couple days old. In the heat.
Mm-hmm.
And also a couple days beforehand, they had warmed over fish. Like, they had fish for lunch, and they just sort of heated it up for dinner.
That's so gross.
At 8:48 a.m., Morse left the house to buy some oxen and to visit a niece in town.
Mm-hmm.
Shortly after 9 a.m., Andrew left the home on his walk to inspect his business interest, dressed as always in his black overcoat.
Mm-hmm.
Bitch! I'm surprised he didn't die of heat stroke before he got bludgeoned to death.
Right, his old ass. Jesus.
He's 60. He is 60 years old when this happens.
Right.
So yeah, he's like wearing this coat. Jesus. Abby ordered the family's maid, Bridget Sullivan, who they called Maggie, after another Irish maid they had.
Oh, okay.
Which a lot of people are like, it's terrible that Emma and Lizzie would call Bridget by a different name. But it was really common when you had servants.
Mm-hmm.
So if you had a servant and his name was Jim Bob,
mm-hmm.
you would say, oh, you're now James, because that's a respectable servant name.
Oh.
Or what the best example is, there was a show depicting servant life around this time
mm-hmm.
called Upstairs Downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
And in the first episode, the lady of the house orders a maid whose mother was French and her name is Clemence.
Clemence.
I
like that name. That's cute.
And she says, like, what's your name? And it's like Clemence. And it's like, all right, we're going to call you Sarah. Because that's a maid name. That
crazy.
Was the thinking back then, was like, if you had a maid and she didn't have a maid name, you gave it a maid name. You gave her a maid name.
That's crazy.
If you had a footman and his name was... If you hired an Irishman to work in your house and his name was like Killian,
mm-hmm.
your name is James now. Your name is John now.
Or just
you're William.
Take away your whole heritage.
You might have a maid, and every single maid you have is named Maggie. Just because it's easier for you. And, like, it's awful to us nowadays, but it was very common back then. Yeah. It was not, like, this terrible thing.
They had Maggie number 1, 2, and 3. That's crazy.
As far as I can tell, this was only Maggie number 2. But we're going to call her Bridget because that was her name.
Period.
Lizzie had come down between Morse leaving and Andrew leaving. She spoke a few words to her father as Abby dusted in the dining room and set about ironing some handkerchiefs.
Mm-hmm.
Bridget was outside, washing the windows, and saw Lizzie near the back door. Lizzie told her the door would be unlocked while she was outside, because she's washing windows.
Okay.
Abby continued her morning chores and went to tidy the guest room in which Morse had stayed. It is said that the Bordens, because Bridget was an Irish immigrant, they didn't trust her to clean any of their bedrooms.
Oh, I forgot people were racist against Irish people back in the day.
We're not going to talk about that on air.
Okay.
I'll tell you off air.
Okay.
It makes my grandmother look bad.
Jesus. To this day, she won't drink a pint of Guinness.
She won't be. She doesn't like beer. Around 10:30, Andrew returned home and found his key would not unlock the front door. Bridget had to open it for him from the inside. It actually became jammed and she swore under her breath. And as she swore, she said she heard a snickering laugh from the top of the stairs she assumed was Lizzie.
Mm-hmm.
Assumed. Andrew and Lizzie spoke to one another in the dining room once he entered the house, before he went upstairs to his bedroom via the back staircase and then returned to the sitting room where he laid on the sofa for a nap. Bridget was finishing washing the windows and noticed Lizzie was in the kitchen sewing and reading a magazine. Lizzie told her of a sale going on in town and told her she may go if she wanted. Bridget instead went upstairs to her room to lay down with a headache after her morning of nausea and washing the windows. When asked where Abby was, Lizzie said she thought a note had been delivered to her and she went to visit a sick friend. At 11:10 a.m., Bridget was awoken by Lizzie shouting from the bottom of the stairs, "Maggie, come quick! Father's dead. Someone's come in and killed him." The body of Andrew was lying slumped on the sofa with his skull smashed in by 10 or 11 blows so viciously that one of his eyes was split in half and his face was completely bisected.
That's crazy. So this all happened in broad daylight.
Broad daylight. Like, he had been home half an hour.
Jeez. They were ready. They said, let this bitch get home.
Lizzie immediately sent Bridget across the street to the home of Dr. Bowen, who was not home. Lizzie then told Bridget to go find him and along the way to send Alice Russell there, as she did not want to be alone.
Mm-hmm.
As Bridget ran to do this, their neighbor, Mrs. Adelaide Churchill, came over to inquire if everything was all right. That is when Lizzie said to have calmly opened the door and said, "Come in, Mrs. Churchill, father has been murdered."
That's so weird.
Police were called to the home and began to investigate the brutal murder. Bridget was told to fetch a sheet to cover Andrew's body, and she remarked, "I better get two."
Oh, that's so ominous. Yo!
However, the police they took note of this, but they were more focused on Lizzie, who is oddly calm and who did give conflicting answers to their questions.
She was probably in shock.
Exactly. Lizzie was asked again where Abby was and recounted the note story and said she may have come home and asked Bridget to go and check upstairs. Bridget refused to go alone, and Mrs. Churchill agreed to go with her. As they climbed the stairs, they could see into the guest room and under the bed, where they could see the body of Abby laying on the far side between the bed and a large bureau. She had been struck 23 times, starting with a strike directly to the face, which hit her so hard it spun her around and caused her to fall on her face, and then was bludgeoned from behind.
That's wild.
And I think with that, because we've gone really far, we're going to make this our first multi-parter.
Yes.
And so this is going to be the end of
The
Lizzie Borden, The Crime.
Yes.
Next week, we will cover Lizzie Borden Part 2, The Trial of the Century.
Yes, in our 3-part Lizzie Borden series.
Dun, dun, dun!
I hope you're ready, kids. Because this is already a crazy, insane story.
You were probably like, what's he talking about? It's like, wait, what?
I'm enthralled. There's so many aspects and everything. Like, who was at the top of the stairs? She thought it was Lizzie.
I don't want to ask you too much because, like, we haven't gone into a lot of the evidence.
Right.
But there's so much hearsay.
I know.
So I think there's no smash or pass for this. Like, we're not going to disrespect the dead like that.
Right.
Okay, yes, I do have a fun smash or pass.
Okay, what is it?
Smash or pass, literally any Victorian man with the weird Victorian facial hair.
Pass.
Me too.
Yeah, I don't really like.
All I can think of is Chester Alan Arthur and the weird beard that like grew out of his nose. Like he didn't have a beard and it just like went up like mustache down to his jaw and then up to his sideburns. Like ugh.
Right. Ugh. I just don't do facial hair. Like I can do a little bit of facial hair, but beards. No, I know like beards are like a thing and everyone's into beards now, but not me. No, I can do a little bit, but not a lot. Now, mustaches, though. We can get into a
little scruff. I can do a little scruff.
We can do a little mustache, a little mbop.
But like this?
No, that's a neck beard, and neck beards are gross.
That is
And
a neck beard.
you all know what I mean when a neck beard. It's someone who only has the hair under their chin where their neck is.
Okay, he
Gross.
generally does have it along here. Although I hate the beard without the mustache.
Yeah, that's weird.
The Abe Lincoln beard.
Right.
It didn't work.
Yeah.
Like it works for Abe Lincoln because he's Abe Lincoln.
Right.
I wouldn't sleep with Abe Lincoln.
You're not. Well, neither would I. But you're not here for the chin strap. Come on, chin strap.
All right, y'all.
This is a crazy story,
This
DJ.
is. And it only gets crazier.
Right.
It only gets crazier.
And I don't even know how it gets crazier, but I'm
Just you wait.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited, Clayar.
Please join us again next week for Lizzie Borden Part 2. Please like, subscribe, comment on our YouTube if you listen there, on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you're listening. Also, please join our cult. Tell friends, family members, coworkers, people in the street who you know like spooky stuff and comedy. You can follow us on Facebook at Crips and Corks or on Twitter at Crips and Corks. You can also find us on Instagram at Crips and Corks Pod or on TikTok at Crips and Cork Pod. If you have personal stories or story suggestions, please email us at cripsandcorks@gmail.com. Paul, where can they find you?
You can find me at my personal Instagram at Paul Ember, PAULEMBER, or my personal TikTok at Paul Ember, PAULEMBER. And as usual, it's not delivery, it's DiGiorno.
If you'd like to follow my personal accounts, you can find me at The Real Deech Powers on both Instagram and TikTok. I finally updated it. And I never post on Twitter, but if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Real Deech Powers. And with that, until next time, watch for hatchet killers and keep your crips tight.
And your corks loose. Bye! Girl, I can't believe I shaved my toes for this.